He spent most of his life farming tobacco, but a Maury County farmer is now suing agricultural giant Monsanto, claiming its controversial weed killer forced him out of business.
He's one of hundreds of farmers who have sued over the use of dicamba, and investigative reporter Ben Hall shows where his case stands.
You don't want a new venture at 65 years old.
Tandy King thought he'd always be a tobacco farmer.
You wanted to do what you're comfortable with and something that you know will make money, but pretty much didn't have any options.
But he says he was forced out of the business right after we first met him in 2018.
That leaf should be probably 4 times that size.
He blames the stunted growth and cupped leaves on his tobacco plants on a neighboring farmer for spraying a controversial weed killer called dicamba that he says drifted off target and landed on his tobacco plants.
Why would you want to spray a chemical that has the potential to drift over on your neighbor and destroy his crop?
After back-to-back years of heavy losses, King was forced to grow a new crop.
I could see that maybe industrial hemp was very close kin to tobacco.
He's now growing hemp. He's had to invest in all new equipment, including greenhouses, and he's trying to make a living.
It was hard. I've been in that business ever since I was 15 years old. And
come on, girls.
King is one of hundreds of farmers across the country who sued Bayer, which bought agricultural giant Monsanto and is responsible for marketing the weed killer dicamba.
I feel like there's a need for somebody to step up and say, hey, Monsanto needs to be held responsible for this.
Things are still being damaged. I mean, plants, trees, crops, everything's being damaged.
King and his attorney, Andy McKellar, closely watched the first major dicamba case in the United States go to trial earlier this year before the pandemic. A Missouri peach farmer claimed dicamba drifted onto his farm, permanently damaging 1,000 acres of peach trees.
And I would follow it on the internet, any publication that I could find that would have something about it.
Jurors awarded the farmer a massive $265 million verdict, a shock to Bayer, and raising the stakes for all future dicamba lawsuits. Bayer immediately appealed, saying the judge should reverse the jury's verdict, or at least significantly reduce the damages. The judge did reduce the damages, but Bayer continues to appeal.
Given COVID, I don't know what's going to happen, but we've got the playbook and we're ready to go.
After that Missouri trial, Bayer agreed to a $400 million settlement with farmers whose crops were damaged by dicamba between 2015 and 2020. But King was not part of that settlement, and his trial is set for the spring.
The only way that you can hurt a big company is with a big verdict, basically.
Bayer sent a statement earlier this year saying its weed-killing products do not pose any unreasonable risk of off-target movement when used according to label directions.
Bayer has raised the issue of user error, prompting states like Tennessee to require farmers who use dicamba to get training and requiring them to use hooded sprayers during the hottest months.
The Tennessee Department of Agriculture says those changes have made a difference. In 2017, it reported 135 cases of dicamba damage in Tennessee. Since then, the numbers have decreased dramatically. But King believes that's because farmers are now buying seeds specifically made by Bayer and Monsanto that are resistant to dicamba.
They are literally pitting farmers against farmers.
As you can see,
King believes it's wrong to force farmers to buy a certain type of seed so their crops won't be damaged by drifting dicamba.
All of a sudden, to have an outside force come in and basically tell you, well, you can't do this anymore because this is more important than you.
Bayer praised the EPA for extending dicamba's registration for another 5 years and says it's an important tool for fighting weeds. Tandy King disagrees and hopes to have his day in court in April. Ben Hall, News Channel 5, investigates.